Property rights are theoretical constructs in economics for determining how a resource is used and owned. Resources can be owned by individuals, associations or governments. Property rights can be viewed as an attribute of an economic good. This attribute has four broad components and is often referred to as a bundle of rights: the right to use the good, the right to earn income from the good, the right to transfer the good to others, the right to enforcement of property rights. In economics, property is usually considered to be ownership and control over a resource or good. Many economists effectively argue that property rights need to be fixed and need to portray the relationships among other parties in order to be more effective. Property rights regimes: property rights to a good must be defined, their use must be monitored, and possession of rights must be enforced. The costs of defining, monitoring, and enforcing property rights are termed transaction costs. Depending on the level of transaction costs, various forms of property rights institutions will develop. Each institutional form can be described by the distribution of rights. The following list is ordered from no property rights defined to all property rights being held by individuals. Open access property is not owned by anyone. It is non-excludable but may be rival. Open access property is not managed by anyone, and access to it is not controlled. There is no constraint on anyone using open access property. Examples of open access property are the upper atmosphere or ocean fisheries. Open access property may exist because ownership has never been established, granted, by laws within a particular country, or because no effective controls are in place, or feasible, that is, the cost of exclusion outweighs the benefits. The government can sometimes effectively convert open access property into private, common or public property through the land grant process, by legislating to define public-private rights previously not granted. State property is property that is owned by all, but its access and use are controlled by the state. An example is a national park. Common property or collective property is property that is owned by a group of individuals. Access, use, and exclusion are controlled by the joint owners. True commons can break down, but, unlike open access property, common property owners have greater ability to manage conflicts through shared benefits and enforcement. Private property is both excludable and rival. Private property access, use, exclusion and management are controlled by the private owner or a group of legal owners. Property rights and the environment. Implicit or explicit property rights can be created by regulating the environment either through prescriptive command and control approaches or by market-based instruments. It has been proposed by Ronald Coase that clearly defining and assigning property rights would resolve environmental problems by internalizing externalities and relying on incentives of private owners to conserve resources for the future. At common law, nuisance and tort law allows adjacent property holders to seek compensation when individual actions diminish the air and water quality for adjacent landowners. Critics of this view argue that this assumes that it is possible to internalize all environmental benefits, that owners will have perfect information, that scale economies are manageable, transaction costs are bearable, and that legal frameworks operate efficiently. Property rights literature. In 2013, researchers produced an annotated bibliography on the property rights literature concerned with two principal outcomes: reduction in investors' risk and increase in incentives to invest, and improvements in household welfare. The researchers explored the channels through which property rights affect growth and household welfare in developing countries. They found that better protection of property rights can affect several development outcomes, including better management of natural resources. See also. References